The room was quiet. Too quiet. For a moment, he thought he might still be dreaming. Then a sharp beep cut through the silence, and his eyes snapped open. Everything felt strange, his body stiff, heavy, and unfamiliar. He tried to move, but his muscles felt like stone. A cold fear crept into his chest. He had no memory of how long he had been asleep. He looked around. The walls were white and smooth, glowing faintly with light. Panels lined the room, filled with blinking lights and strange symbols. It was a room built for humans, he realized. Or maybe for someone else long ago. He remembered nothing, not his name, not where he was from, not why he was here. Only one thing was certain. He was alone. A soft, mechanical hum echoed from the corners of the room. Machines stirred, moving, on their own as if the world had been waiting for him to wake. He tried to sit up. The movement was slow and painful, like waking from a sleep that had lasted for 100 lifetimes. His hands shook as he touched his face, feeling the sharp line of his jaw, the cold skin of his cheeks. He was real. He was alive, but alive in a world he did not recognize. He looked around again, scanning the room. There were shelves filled with small devices he did not understand, jars with strange liquids, and glass panels that reflected his face back at him. He tried to speak, to call out for someone, anyone, but his voice came out as a weak whisper. His throat was dry, his lungs heavy. There was no answer, only silence. He rose slowly, gripping the edge of the bed-like structure he had been lying on. The floor was smooth beneath his feet. His eyes adjusted to the light, and he saw a doorway at the far end of the room. It was open, showing a corridor that stretched into darkness. A feeling of curiosity mixed with fear pushed him forward. Every step made his muscles protest. Every breath reminded him how fragile he felt. The corridor was long. Lights flickered along the walls, illuminating strange signs and numbers. He tried to remember what these things meant, but his mind was empty. His heart pounded. He called out again, but only his echo answered. It was then he realized something that made the blood freeze in his veins. There was no sound of life anywhere. No footsteps, no voices, no machines talking. Just him and the quiet hum of the building. He reached a door at the end of the corridor. His hand shook as he pushed it open. Beyond it was a larger room, filled with strange equipment and more panels. In the center, a large screen flickered to life. A hologram appeared, showing the face of a man with a kind expression. "Welcome back," the voice said, calm and steady. "You have been asleep for 12,000 years. The world you knew is gone." He blinked. 12,000 years? That could not be right. His mind raced. He tried to speak, but his voice failed him again. He could not form the words. Finally, he whispered, "Gone. How?" The hologram continued, showing images of cities, once alive, now overgrown and crumbling. The voice explained that humanity had faced great challenges. There were wars, disease, and natural disasters. In time, humans had been forced to leave Earth, seeking survival among the stars. Some had gone willingly, others had vanished in the process. Whatever remained, the Earth had healed itself, but humans had disappeared. He stumbled backward, trying to process it. 12,000 years. Gone. A world that once had laughter, crowds, music, and light. All vanished. And he had slept through it all. His chest felt heavy with grief. He remembered nothing, yet he felt the absence of millions of lives, of civilizations, of memories that were no longer alive. A small compartment in the wall clicked open. Inside were supplies, food, water, and a small pack of essentials. He opened it and examined the contents. Even after all this time, it was safe to eat. The technology inside the room was advanced, far beyond anything he remembered, but it was human-made. Somehow, humans had prepared for this long ago. They had left a path for him even if they were gone. Stepping carefully, he moved toward the nearest exit. The door led outside. He paused at the threshold. He had expected ruin, darkness, decay. But what he saw was something else. The sun shone brightly, but the sky was not the blue he remembered. It had a faint golden tint, as if the world itself had changed. The city beyond the facility was silent, its towers overgrown with plants and trees. Nature had claimed what humans once built. He walked slowly through the empty streets. Cars were covered in moss. Roads cracked under the weight of time. He touched a building, feeling the smooth metal beneath the vines. His mind tried to recall the hum of life, the sound of voices, the movement of people, but it was all gone. All he could hear was the wind rustling through the trees and the distant cry of some unknown bird. Every step he took was a step through history that had passed without him. He found a playground half buried in greenery. Rusted swings swayed slightly in the breeze. He sat on one, letting the memories of a time he never lived in wash over him. There was beauty in this silence, yet it was filled with loss. He thought about what it meant to be human. Was humanity truly gone, or had it simply moved beyond him? As he continued exploring, he discovered remnants of human life. Books, sculptures, and machines that still hummed faintly. In a museum, he found images of humans laughing, working, creating art, exploring space. Their faces were full of hope and curiosity. He realized something important. Though humanity had vanished from Earth, their spirit remained in these creations. Their intelligence, courage, and creativity had been recorded here, waiting for someone to remember. The more he explored, the more he understood the scale of what had happened. Humans had reached for the stars. They had left clues, tools, and messages behind, preparing the next generation, or perhaps him, to continue their work. He felt a strange sense of purpose growing inside him. Though he was alone, he was not useless. He could carry on their legacy. Night fell. The sky was different, dotted with unfamiliar stars, some brighter, some dimmer. He lay on the grass, looking up, feeling the cold earth beneath him. In that moment, he realized he had a choice. He could stay in this silent world, mourning what was lost, or he could venture farther, seeking answers and maybe, just maybe, finding humanity again. A soft wind brushed his face, carrying with it the scent of flowers and rain-soaked soil. For the first time in thousands of years, he smiled. The world was empty, yes, but it was alive. And he was alive too. He rose, determined. The path ahead was unknown, dangerous, and full of mystery. But he knew one thing. Humanity might have disappeared from Earth, but its spirit could never be erased. He would find out what had become of it, and perhaps he could help it live again. With one last look at the overgrown city, he stepped forward, feeling both fear and hope. He was alone, yet not powerless. The journey had begun. The next morning, he woke with a strange mixture of excitement and fear. The sun was already high, casting golden light over the ruined city. He stretched his stiff muscles and looked around. Trees had grown through streets and buildings, twisting and bending metal as if nature itself had claimed the world. Birds with bright feathers sang songs he had never heard. The air was fresh, filled with scents of flowers, earth, and something else, something unfamiliar. He began walking, moving carefully through the empty streets. Every corner revealed a new surprise. Abandoned vehicles were covered in moss, and signs of human life were everywhere, though faded and broken. Posters peeling from walls, books scattered on the ground, toys left behind. He picked up a small book, brushing off layers of dirt. It was a history book, filled with pictures of humans exploring space. He read a few pages, trying to absorb the words. It told of human courage, determination, and mistakes. Humans had survived for thousands of years, yet here he was, alone. As he explored, he noticed strange movements in the distance. Shadows darted between buildings. At first, he feared they might be other humans, or worse, some dangerous creature. But then he saw their shapes clearly, animals, but not like any he had known. Small creatures with bright, glowing eyes and fur that shimmered like metal. Birds that walked on the ground, their feathers long and twisting. Some seemed curious, watching him silently before disappearing into the trees. He realized quickly that the world had changed. Humans were gone, but life had not stopped. Nature had adapted, evolved, and in some ways had become smarter. He felt a shiver run down his spine. Alone in a world of strange creatures, he had to be careful. He needed food, water, and shelter, but also understanding. He moved toward what looked like a park, hoping to find supplies or some clues about the past. The grass was tall and soft, bending under his weight. In the center, a fountain had cracked and dried, but at its base lay a small device. Curious, he picked it up. The device flickered to life, projecting a hologram of a human woman. "Greetings," the woman said. "If you are seeing this, then you are awake. I am Commander Lyra, and you have been in stasis for 12,000 years. Humanity has left Earth. We survived, but our home is no longer safe. I hope this message reaches you in time." He stared at the hologram, trying to absorb the words. Humanity had survived? Somewhere else. But why had they left? And why had he been left behind? The hologram continued, showing images of humans building spaceships, preparing colonies in distant systems, and using strange devices to travel between worlds. "We hoped that one day someone from the past might awaken and carry our knowledge forward," the message said. "The world you see is not empty. Life has changed. Nature has reclaimed it. You must adapt and survive and maybe find the others. Good luck." When the hologram ended, he looked around. He was more determined now. Humanity might have moved on, but the world still held secrets. He needed to explore further. He wandered through the streets for hours, discovering ruins of schools, libraries, and offices. Every place told a story of human life long gone. He found machines still humming softly, some providing power, others scanning the environment automatically. The technology was advanced far beyond anything he remembered. Humans had been preparing for something big, something that had required leaving Earth behind. By midday, he reached a large building that once seemed to be a research facility. The doors were heavy but opened easily. Inside, rows of machines filled the space, some dormant, others blinking. Holographic maps floated in the air, showing star systems, colonies, and unknown planets. He realized that humans had not only survived, they had explored far beyond Earth. Among the machines, he found a small room filled with strange animals. Some looked like Earth species, but others were entirely new. Glowing insects, small lizards with shifting colors, and birds with translucent wings. It was clear that humans had experimented with life, perhaps to adapt it for other planets, or maybe to save species that had no place in the wild anymore. He felt a strange connection to these creatures. Though humans were gone, their care for life remained. He moved slowly, careful not to startle them. One small bird with golden feathers hopped onto his hand, chirping softly. For the first time, he felt a sense of companionship since waking. The world was no longer entirely empty. As he explored the building, he noticed a small console with blinking lights. Curious, he pressed a button. A holographic map appeared, showing a large area of Earth and beyond. Red dots marked human colonies, while other points indicated places of disaster or unknown activity. One point, brighter than the others, was labeled simply, Hope. His heart raced. Could this be a clue to surviving humans? He studied the map carefully, trying to memorize the route. It was far, perhaps beyond what he could travel alone, but the thought of finding others, of reconnecting with humanity, gave him purpose. Suddenly, a sound echoed through the building. Something moved. He froze. The shadows shifted, and he saw figures in the distance. They were not human. Tall, thin creatures with silver skin and long limbs. They moved silently, observing him. He realized he was not the only one exploring this world. Some beings had stayed behind, perhaps waiting, perhaps guarding. Fear surged through him, but he forced himself to stay calm. He remembered the lessons of humanity: caution, intelligence, and courage. Slowly he backed away, moving toward another corridor. The creatures watched, then vanished as quickly as they had appeared. He realized the world was full of mysteries and dangers. Outside, the city was bathed in evening light. Shadows stretched long across the streets, and the air cooled. He found a small building to rest in for the night. Inside, he lit a small portable lamp and sat on the floor thinking. Humanity had left, but they had left behind a world full of life and technology. There were clues, messages, and machines that could guide him. The thought gave him hope, but also a heavy weight. He was alone in a world of wonders and unknown threats. Before sleeping, he explored one last area nearby. Among the ruins, he found a small garden, carefully maintained even after thousands of years. Strange plants grew in patterns, and small creatures flitted among the leaves. He realized that even without humans, life had found a way to survive. This world was not dead. It was alive in ways he could barely understand. He sat among the plants, letting the soft wind brush against his face. For a moment, he allowed himself to imagine a world where humans returned, where laughter and voices filled the streets once more. Then he remembered, he might be the first human to awaken in 12,000 years. The responsibility weighed heavily. Could he survive? Could he find the others? Could humanity truly return? As night deepened, he lay down in the garden, looking at the stars above. They were different from the stars he remembered, bright and strange, yet beautiful. Somewhere among them, humans had survived. Somewhere, life continued. He closed his eyes, determined to wake tomorrow ready to explore further, to survive, and to uncover the secrets left behind. When he finally slept, the world around him remained alive. The wind whispered through broken buildings, strange creatures scuttled through the shadows, and the silent city waited. It waited for him, the last connection to the humanity that had once flourished on this earth. The journey had only just begun. The next morning, he woke with a sense of urgency. The stars had faded with the sun, leaving the sky pale and bright. His body was sore from walking, climbing, and crouching in ruins, but his mind felt sharper than ever. He had learned that the world was full of mysteries, strange creatures, and machines left behind. Today, he decided he would push farther, seeking answers and perhaps finding clues about humanity's fate. He packed his supplies, a few portable rations, a small water container, and the devices he had found in the research building. He kept the glowing bird from yesterday on his shoulder. It chirped softly, a reminder that life still existed even without humans. He walked through the city streets, which had become almost like a forest. Trees had grown through the asphalt and vines twisted around metal towers. Every step he took reminded him that this was no longer the world he had known. After several hours, he reached a wide river that cut through the city. The water was clear but deep, flowing faster than he expected. He found an old bridge, its structure weak and twisted. Carefully he crossed, testing each step before trusting it. Halfway across, the bridge groaned loudly. A plank snapped under his foot, sending him sliding toward the edge. He caught himself just in time, heart pounding. On the other side, he discovered something unexpected, a small settlement of creatures. They were intelligent, he realized, unlike anything on Earth before. Some were like large foxes with long tails. Others resembled birds with delicate, multicolored wings. They moved with purpose, gathering food, building nests, and communicating in sounds he could barely understand. Though wary of him, they did not attack. He watched them for a while, fascinated. Humanity was gone, yet life had not only survived, it had adapted and evolved. These creatures had learned to thrive without humans, building shelters, finding food, and even showing signs of simple tools. He felt a mixture of awe and sadness. Humans had built cities, machines, and culture, but in their absence, nature had reclaimed the earth in a way that was both beautiful and powerful. He continued along the riverbank, moving slowly to avoid disturbing the wildlife. After several miles, he reached an abandoned industrial complex. Rusted metal towers rose into the sky, their surfaces covered in moss and plants. Machines stood silently, their purpose lost to time, yet some were still active, sensors blinking as if detecting movement. He approached carefully. Inside, he discovered a room filled with data panels, screens, and strange devices. Dust covered the floor, but the machines hummed faintly. He realized that some of them were still functioning, powered by long-lasting energy cores. He examined the panels and found logs, recordings, and holographic messages left by humans. One message played automatically. To anyone who survives, remember that knowledge is power. The Earth has changed, but the truth remains. Humanity has spread across the stars, but our home is not lost. Follow the paths we created, and you may find others. Be cautious, the world is alive, and not all beings are friendly. The warning made him tense. He had already seen strange creatures, some curious, some cautious. What if others were hostile? He had to remain careful. He spent hours exploring the complex, uncovering maps, blueprints, and devices that could help him survive. Some machines analyzed food, others purified water, and a few could repair small tools. It was as if humans had prepared everything, anticipating that one day someone would need it. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the building. The floor shook slightly and dust fell from the ceiling. He froze, listening. The sound grew louder, a mechanical growl, metallic and dangerous. From the shadows emerged a machine unlike anything he had seen. It was large, with limbs ending in sharp tools, sensors glowing red. It moved slowly, scanning the room. He realized with fear that it was designed to protect this place, perhaps even attack intruders. His heart pounded. He had to think quickly. He remembered some of the devices humans had left behind. Reaching into his pack, he pulled out a small gadget that emitted a bright light and a low hum. He activated it, hoping to confuse the machine. The lights flickered and the machine paused, its sensors recalibrating. Carefully, he moved toward a side door, staying just out of reach. The machine followed, but its movements were slow, giving him time. Outside, he ran through the overgrown streets, the glowing bird on his shoulder guiding him. The machine stayed inside, and he dared a glance back. It did not pursue. Relief washed over him, but he knew the world was dangerous. Humans had left behind protections, but not all threats could be controlled. He had to be smart, cautious, and strong. As he traveled, he discovered evidence of humanity's past experiments. There were greenhouses filled with plants that could survive harsh climates, animals designed to help humans adapt to other planets, and machines that could terraform environments. Humans had not only survived, they had prepared for life beyond Earth. Every clue he found strengthened his resolve. He was not just surviving, he was learning, adapting, and connecting to the humanity that had gone before. By evening, he reached the edge of a forest that stretched for miles. Strange sounds echoed from within, calls of unknown animals, the rustling of leaves, and distant movements. He realized that traveling alone would be dangerous. He needed shelter and safety before night fell. Exploring the forest, he found a natural cave hidden behind thick vines. Inside, the air was cool and calm. He set up a small camp using the supplies from his pack. The glowing bird perched on a rock, its eyes alert, sensing the forest's life around them. He reflected on the day's discoveries. The world was full of wonders and dangers. Life had evolved in ways humans could never have imagined, yet remnants of humanity remained. Messages, machines, and tools. He understood that his journey would not be simple. He would face challenges, threats, and moments of despair, but he also felt hope. Humanity might be gone from Earth, but it had left a trail, a path he could follow. As night deepened, he heard soft movements outside the cave. His heart raced. Strange shapes moved among the trees, glowing faintly in the moonlight. They were the creatures he had seen earlier, intelligent and curious. He stayed still, watching them. Slowly, they approached the entrance, observing him without aggression. One small creature, glowing like fireflies, stepped forward and chirped. He reached out his hand, and it touched him lightly before retreating. For a moment, he felt a connection, not with humans, but with the life that continued on Earth. Sleep came slowly that night. He lay on the cave floor, listening to the forest, feeling the weight of 12,000 years. The journey ahead would be long and difficult, but he was not helpless. He had tools, knowledge, and a growing understanding of the world. Most importantly, he had hope. Somewhere, humanity had survived. Somewhere, answers waited. When he finally closed his eyes, he dreamed, not of the humans he had never met, but of possibilities. Of Earth reclaimed by life, of knowledge preserved, of a path forward that he alone could walk. Tomorrow he would continue exploring, pushing farther into the unknown. He would face challenges, but he would also uncover secrets that could lead him to humanity, or at least to understanding what had become of it. The world outside was alive. The cities, forests, rivers, and skies were full of mysteries. Machines hummed softly, creatures moved cautiously, and nature had adapted in ways both beautiful and dangerous. He was one man alone in a silent world, yet he carried the spirit of humanity within him, the spirit to survive, to explore, and to discover. And so he slept, ready for the next day, ready for the challenges, and ready to uncover the truth about the humans who had once called this planet home. The morning sun filtered through the trees, painting the forest floor in soft gold. He stretched, feeling stronger after a night of rest in the cave. The glowing bird chirped softly, fluttering to his shoulder as if urging him onward. Today, he told himself, he would push farther. He could feel that the answers were close. Something in the forest hinted at secrets left behind by humans. He moved carefully through the thick undergrowth, using a long branch to test the path ahead. Strange creatures watched him from a distance, their glowing eyes reflecting the sunlight. Some were cautious, while others seemed curious, following him silently. Despite their odd shapes and colors, he sensed no hostility. In this world, life had adapted, survived, and even thrived without humans. After several hours, he came upon a clearing. In the center stood a large structure, partially hidden by overgrown vines and trees. Its shape was unlike anything he had seen before, metallic and smooth with symbols etched into the walls. He approached slowly, feeling both awe and caution. This place was not a natural building. Humans had built it, he realized, but it had been abandoned for thousands of years. He stepped inside through a wide doorway. The air was cool and still. Inside, the room opened into a vast chamber filled with machines, panels, and screens. Dust covered the surfaces, but many devices still hummed with life. He walked carefully, examining the equipment. Among the machines were holographic projectors, displaying maps of the stars and distant planets. One map showed human colonies glowing faintly in the darkness. He felt a shiver of excitement. Humans had survived, but not on Earth. They had spread across space, building new homes on distant planets. They had evolved, adapted, and perhaps even forgotten their original home. But they were alive. Somewhere among the stars, humanity had continued its story. As he explored, he discovered a small chamber off to the side. Inside were pods similar to the one he had emerged from. Some were empty, while others still held preserved humans in stasis. Their faces were calm, frozen in time. He realized with wonder that humanity had prepared for the long journey ahead, leaving behind technology and knowledge to ensure survival. A console on the wall activated as he approached. A hologram flickered to life, showing a woman with a gentle expression. "Welcome," she said. "If you are seeing this, you are awake. I am Commander Lyra. You have been asleep for 12,000 years. Humanity has survived, but Earth is no longer our home. Some of us remain in distant colonies, and we have left clues for those who awaken on Earth. You are the link between the past and the present. Use the knowledge we left behind wisely. The journey will be difficult, but it is possible to reconnect with humanity." He absorbed her words slowly, feeling the weight of responsibility. He was not just exploring for survival. He was carrying the legacy of an entire species. Humanity had trusted him, or perhaps the humans of the past had left hope in his hands, even if they could never see the outcome. He spent hours examining the machines and logs. Some contained knowledge of starship construction, space travel, and survival on distant planets. Others recorded messages from humans warning of dangers in space, asteroid fields, hostile creatures, and rogue AI left behind on abandoned colonies. Each message reinforced one truth: humanity had survived, but they had not made it easy. As the day progressed, he explored more of the facility. He found laboratories filled with preserved plants and animals, some native to Earth, others genetically modified to survive extreme environments. Humans had clearly prepared for a future far beyond their home planet, ensuring that life could continue, even if they could not. He felt awe at their foresight, but also a sense of sorrow. They had left Earth behind, leaving him and perhaps others like him as the last witnesses of the world they had created. Suddenly, a soft vibration ran through the floor. He froze, listening. The machines hummed more loudly and a panel lit up, displaying an unfamiliar symbol. He approached cautiously, realizing that some systems were still active, guarding the facility or protecting its contents. He activated a nearby console and found a recorded message. "To any who arrive, know that not all is safe. The systems here are designed to prevent misuse of our technology. Trust your instincts. Be cautious. The world outside has changed, and so has the life within it." He nodded slowly. The warnings were clear. The journey ahead would not only test his courage, but also his intelligence and resourcefulness. He had to respect the systems, the creatures, and the environment. Humanity had survived for thousands of years by adapting, and he would need to do the same. As evening approached, he discovered a small shuttle hidden in a bay. Its design was simple but advanced. He realized that humans had left this for travelers, perhaps for someone like him to continue their journey. The shuttle appeared functional, powered by an energy core that still glowed faintly. He ran his hands over the controls, imagining the possibilities. With this shuttle, he could leave Earth, search for the surviving colonies, and reconnect with humanity. But he hesitated. The thought of leaving the planet that had been his home, even in ruins, filled him with fear. He had survived here, adapted to the strange creatures and dangerous environment. But space was unknown, vast, and potentially hostile. He thought of the humans in stasis waiting for someone to awaken. Could he reach them? Could he help guide humanity once more? The questions weighed heavily on him. He decided to prepare for the journey. First, he needed to learn as much as possible about the shuttle, the systems, and the environment outside. He spent the night reading logs, analyzing maps, and familiarizing himself with controls. The glowing bird sat nearby, its soft chirps offering comfort in the otherwise silent facility. Before sleeping, he stepped outside briefly. The forest stretched endlessly, bathed in moonlight. Strange creatures moved in the shadows, their eyes reflecting the pale light. The air was alive with whispers of life, reminders that Earth had not stopped even without humans. He realized that humanity's absence had not ended the story of this world. It had only changed it. As he lay down for the night, he felt a sense of resolve. Humanity had left clues, prepared systems, and built machines to guide the future. He was ready to take the next step. Tomorrow he would begin the journey to the stars, carrying the knowledge of the past and the hope for the future. He closed his eyes, thinking of the humans who had survived. Somewhere they were alive. Somewhere the species he belonged to continued to thrive. He was no longer alone in purpose, even if he was alone in body. Earth had given him strength, and the humans of the past had given him knowledge. Now, it was his turn to act. The facility hummed quietly, machines blinking softly in the darkness. The glowing bird perched on a nearby console, watching over him. Outside, the world remained alive, full of mysteries and challenges. He knew that tomorrow, he would step beyond the planet he had known for so long and into the unknown, guided by the legacy of humanity and the hope that they could be found once more. For the first time in 12,000 years, he felt that he was not just surviving, he was part of a greater story. A story that stretched across stars, planets, and time itself. A story that humanity had begun, and now he would continue. And so as the night deepened, he slept with a clear purpose: to survive, to explore, and to find the humans who had once called Earth home. Tomorrow, he would take the first step toward that distant horizon, toward a future built on the courage, intelligence, and spirit of humanity. The shuttle's engines hummed softly as he ran final checks. The morning light spilled across the overgrown forest outside the facility, but his eyes were fixed on the instruments before him. After 12,000 years, he was about to leave Earth. His heart pounded with excitement and fear. This was more than a journey, it was a mission. He carried the knowledge of humanity, the legacy of Earth, and the hope of reconnecting with the colonies spread across distant stars. The glowing bird perched on the dashboard, chirping softly. He smiled, running a hand over its feathers. Somehow it had chosen to stay with him, a tiny reminder of life that had survived on Earth. He activated the final sequence, feeling the shuttle respond to his commands. The engines roared to life, vibrating beneath him. Slowly, the vessel lifted from the ground, carrying him toward the skies he had not seen for millennia. As the shuttle cleared the atmosphere, Earth stretched beneath him, a mix of green forests, ruined cities, and rivers that had survived the ages. He felt a pang of sorrow. This world had once been full of humans, of laughter, music, and voices. Now it was quiet, reclaimed by nature. Yet even in its silence there was beauty. Humanity's home had endured, and he was leaving with its memory intact. He set the shuttle on course for the nearest human colony, a star system marked clearly in the facility's logs. The journey would take weeks, even at the shuttle's advanced speed. He monitored the instruments, adjusting trajectory, checking fuel reserves, and ensuring life support systems functioned correctly. Every calculation reminded him that survival was not guaranteed, but he had learned from humans that intelligence, patience, and careful planning were keys to success. Days passed. The stars outside the shuttle window were bright and unfamiliar, glittering against the blackness of space. At times he felt isolated, the weight of thousands of years of silence pressing down on him. But each time doubt crept in, he looked at the bird perched beside him and remembered his mission. He was not just exploring for himself, he was carrying the story of humanity forward. Along the way, he encountered challenges. Asteroid fields threatened to tear the shuttle apart, forcing him to maneuver carefully. Automated satellites, remnants of humanity's long-forgotten defenses, scanned the shuttle, initially treating it as a threat. He had to use his understanding of human technology to communicate, sending identification codes he had memorized from the facility logs. Slowly, the satellites recognized him as a friend, and the danger passed. During a quiet period of travel, he accessed the shuttle's database, reviewing messages and recordings left by humans. Some were historical, detailing the first colonies and the struggles humans faced in space. Others were personal, messages from families to each other expressing hope, fear, and determination. He felt a deep connection, as if humanity had reached through time and space to guide him. He realized that though he had been asleep for 12,000 years, he was part of something much larger. Finally, after weeks of travel, the shuttle approached the colony. A planet with blue oceans, green continents, and vast cities floated in the darkness of space. It was alive, buzzing with energy and movement. Ships traveled through the skies while structures stretched into the atmosphere. Humans thrived here, adapted to a new home, but unmistakably the same species he had left behind. He descended carefully, navigating through the docking bays. The moment he touched down, alarms sounded briefly, but the system quickly recognized him. The shuttle doors opened and he stepped onto the surface. For the first time in 12,000 years, he saw humans face to face. They were cautious, curious, and welcoming. A woman approached, her expression a mixture of wonder and recognition. You're awake," she said softly. "We thought all from your time were lost." She extended her hand and he shook it, feeling the weight of history in that single gesture. Around him, others came forward, studying him, asking questions, and sharing news. Humanity had survived, but they had missed him. He told them about Earth, the forests, the ruined cities, and the strange creatures. They listened intently, fascinated by the changes over 12,000 years. "Earth has changed," one of the elders said, "but it has endured. Your journey confirms that life continues, and that humans are resilient." He realized that though he had left the planet, he had carried a piece of it with him. His knowledge of Earth, the creatures, and the surviving technology could help guide the colonies. Humanity's past and present had finally connected through him. Over the next days, he explored the colony. The humans had adapted remarkably to their new home, yet they valued their history. They had archives filled with records of Earth, messages preserved for generations, and lessons learned from their struggles. He felt at home, yet he knew his mission was not over. He had a duty to ensure that the story of Earth and humanity's survival continued. The colony's scientists showed him ships capable of traveling farther than he had ever imagined, exploring distant systems. They explained the challenges humans had faced: limited resources, environmental hazards, and occasional conflicts with alien species. Humanity had endured through intelligence, cooperation, and courage, qualities he had learned to respect and embody during his journey. One evening, as the colony rested under twin moons, he stood on a balcony overlooking the city. He thought of the forests, the overgrown cities, and the silent rivers of Earth. Though humanity had moved to the stars, the planet remained alive. Life had adapted, evolved, and thrived. And somewhere among the trees the glowing bird waited, a reminder that even in isolation life could endure. He knew he could return to Earth, guide efforts to restore it, or focus on exploring space with the colonies. The choice was his, and he felt the freedom and responsibility of it. Humanity had survived countless challenges. Through him, the story of their past, the lessons of Earth, and the hope for the future could continue. In that moment, he realized something profound. Survival was not just about living. It was about learning, remembering, and passing knowledge forward. Humanity had left Earth, yet it had left clues, technology, and hope. He had followed that path and arrived at the living proof: humans thriving beyond the stars. He smiled. The journey that began with a lonely awakening had led to connection, understanding, and purpose. Humanity was gone from Earth, but it was far from lost. The stars were filled with life, and he was part of that story now. The next morning, he prepared to leave the colony again, not as a lost human from the past, but as a bridge between worlds. The shuttle waited, fully prepared for travel. He stepped inside, the glowing bird perched on the dashboard, chirping softly. Engines roared to life, and the vessel lifted toward the skies. As Earth faded in the distance, he felt no fear. The forests, the rivers, and the silent cities remained, thriving in the absence of humans. But humanity itself was alive, spread across the stars, and he was a part of that ongoing story. He looked at the stars ahead, each one a possibility, a future, a chance to explore, learn, and connect. He knew that his journey was not the end. It was a beginning of rebuilding connections, of learning more about humanity's legacy, and of exploring the endless mysteries of space. He was no longer alone. Humanity had survived, life had endured, and the future was waiting. The shuttle moved steadily through the void, carrying him toward new worlds, new discoveries, and new beginnings. The stars stretched endlessly before him, shining with possibilities. For the first time in 12,000 years, he felt complete. He had awakened to a silent Earth, faced challenges beyond imagination, and now he had found his place among the living, and so, with hope in his heart, he set forth into the cosmos, carrying the story of humanity, the lessons of Earth, and the promise of a future that could be bright again. Humanity was gone from its home, but it was alive, thriving, and ready to continue its journey among the stars. And he, the one who had awakened after 12,000 years, was now part of that story, a witness to survival and a guardian of hope.